Wow, what a surprise for all of us. Henry T gets to visit with his high school football coach, great friend for a long time. He and I hooked up with maybe 5,000 high school broadcasts.
At
We had
least that many.
times, some great challenges, and here he is, the one and only former great coach at Sandia High School, former Lobo football star, Jim Ottman. Coach, good morning. How are you, buddy?
Henry, I'm doing fine. Thank you. I'm at work as we speak, but, I'm still working at something. So that's good.
You know, one thing we have in common right now, we have back problems. Yours are working out much better than mine. What what is a back pain? And just impulsive answering, how does a back pain feel?
Well, it's a pain in the neck, really. No, it's a pain in the back. It's just something that's with you. It just hurts down there and it makes you a little stiff. And it just really won't go away. You can calm it down a little bit, but to get rid of it is almost impossible. So I've gone through 4 operations, and so but it allows me to play a little bit of golf, probably maybe a couple of rounds a week if I don't swing hard. But so I can still do a lot of things. It's just the next morning I really hurt.
Wow. Here's a guy that married the homecoming queen, was a Lobo football star. He's had a great life, many years teacher and coach at Sandia High School in the Albuquerque, or and let's put it this way. He's in the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame, and he's my friend. I'm so happy that Jim Ottman is my friend. You've had a lot of honors, and you've had a great lady, the homecoming queen. This is literally a true story. Coach Ottman
Well,
married the homecoming
I've
queen.
had a good I've had a good run. My life has been good, full of a lot of nice people like yourself, and done a lot of exciting things in the sports world, and that's what I'm about is sports and athletics. And so I got a granddaughter playing basketball now, and I've had another granddaughter who played volleyball at La Cueva, and I get to watch them. So my life was pretty neat. I know a
Like,
lot of nice
what's
people,
it
and
like, Grandpa, watching your granddaughters play all those sports that you used to play? What's it like being in the stands cheering them on?
I think, well, I'm more nervous for one thing. I get all tied up, and I want them to win so bad that it's a little tough on me sometimes. Sometimes I got to get up and leave the gym. You know? But it's wonderful to have those girls and doing what they're doing because they're special girls to me. And I got another one that's in Arizona, so they're all really nice kids, and all the sons, both sons are good. I'm just doing well.
So many thrills in a lifetime. The thrill of being a grandfather. Explain. Tell us what it's all about.
Well, it kind of just keeps your life going that you have something like that to help, to work with, to watch. And she's I got four granddaughters, no grandsons really. Oh, and two older grandsons who are in their 30s but don't see them much. But just being able to watch them keeps me young, I think. And it's very important for me to to back them up and pat them on the back when they're down, and get them fired up, ready to go. And it's just something I love to do.
When you still get introductions as former Lobo football star Jim Ottman, you're one of the rare athletes who suited up as a Lobo football player. You literally never left the field. You played both sides of the football, occasionally kicked. You did it all for the Lobos.
Well, back then you had to. They didn't have a whole lot of sub. Of course, we had a couple of units, but back then the substitution rules were, you could, if you came out of the game in one quarter, you couldn't go back until the next quarter. So you had to play both ways. And you were on the punt team, you were on the kickoff team, you were on punt return team, extra point. So you're always in the football game. But they made it so everybody, both teams were in the same boat. So everybody, we realized the way that you could do it to where you could get a little bit of rest, but most of the time we were out on the field.
How special were those days for you, Coach?
Oh, it's unbelievable. The quarterback still, Jim Cromartie still lives here in town. Bobby Santiago, the other halfback still who lives here in town, and a couple others that I played with, they're still around. So, we get together every now and then, and we meet up in Red River for 3 or 4 days every summer. And, it's just great to be able to see those guys and live our lives together here, right here in Albuquerque.
And I know to this moment, you're a big Lobo fan. You and Coach Charlton sit way up there in the corner, and you go there regularly. No matter who else is going to the game, it doesn't matter. Coach Ottman and Coach Charlton are going to be in the stadium. You're a loyal fan as well.
Loyal fan is true. I do watch the good and the bad. Try to cheer them on when I can. I get a little discouraged, but I realize how hard it is here sometimes to recruit this, that, and the other. They're Lobos, and somebody's got to be there to help them along.
Danny Gonzalez, the new youthful football coach at UNM. Does he have what it takes, in your opinion?
Well, sure, off to a good start. I don't know why he can't continue at the rate he's going. He's got the personality for it. He's got a good staff with him, people that want to be here, that know New Mexico a little bit. And, I think he's doing a good job, and I think he's doing it the right way. But it's one losses, so it's going to be, it's always one losses. So we'll see what happens next year. But I think he's going to be successful, within the first couple of years.
In our recent football season, man, I bet there were 100 people at the most one night out there. I couldn't believe my eyes that I was in that stadium with so few fans. You were there too. That what you call a comeback. If Danny can take us from that photograph to 40,000 filled seats, I think he can do it. How about you?
Well, all he's got to do is win. So if he does that, and with his personality and the way he's associating with people around Albuquerque and New Mexico and what he's doing it the right way. But it's still going to boil down to whether you win or lose. So we'll see what happens.
How about bringing Rocky back home with him? What will that do for the team?
Oh, that was a big help, just to get that name out there, associated with New Mexico football again. And he wanted to be here, so nothing but the best with that. Let him take it a couple of years till they get that defense established, and then let somebody else come in and finish it off. But having him here really helped.
Going back to that night where there were only 100 fans left in the stadium, what went through your mind that evening to see the crowd dwindle to 100 fans?
Well, naturally, I was disappointed, but you got to realize what was going on, and I knew what was going on. So that's just the way athletics is. If you don't win, nobody shows up. I don't care who you are, or what you are, or where you are. It's just the way it is in sports. So, it wasn't surprising. We weren't winning. We weren't doing much. So people aren't going to show up. So not much you can do about it. That's the way it is.
Coach Ottman and I have done thousands of high school games together. That is no exaggeration. Some of them are more memorable than others. One in particular where lightning struck our booth, and I'll never forget that.
I'll never will forget that one. That's for sure. It melted us down, and the winter didn't kill us. But we've been on rooftops. We've been in the bleachers hanging off. We've been standing up. We've been freezing cold. We did those ball games in some bad spots.
And I sent Coach to Laguna one night with no rosters, some equipment that was way too sophisticated to use, but he got the game done because he's a trooper. He's a teammate, and he got it done.
I did it on my phone. So that was amazing. Yeah, we did have to do it. You sent me on those kind of deals a couple of times. You sent me to places where I had to have a map to find out where it was. So,
but you got it.
We had fun. Yeah, we got it done.
Amazing.
Sometimes better than others.
Yeah. your recreational life too. I mean, your leisure time. You always spend it so well with your granddaughters, with a club in your hand, going to games. What does Coach Jim Ottman do literally in his leisure time?
Well, I also have three dogs, so I walk them a lot. I also got a yard to take care of, and chores inside. So, I uh, I don't like to just lay around too much, but it just gives me nothing real big, nothing hard, but just something to do all the time, and that's what I like to do. Just stay busy.
And you're busy at the golf course. What do you do out there in the Rodello?
I work behind the counter. That's where I'm supposed to be right now. My boss is taking my spot, and I'm getting, those eyes looking at me like, when the hell am I going to be back? So,
Well, give us, if you can sneak 10 more minutes in, Coach, we would be so happy. Clem,
I'll give you 8. I'll give you 8.
Give me 8, okay, we'll compromise. Clem Charlton, your close friend, your coaching associate when you got to Sandia, and in the near future, he gave you his spot to be the head coach. You got a state championship in those unique years.
Yeah.
Wow, those are rare, Coach. What does that mean to you?
Sandia's never had one since, as far as football is concerned. But yeah, Coach Charlton hired me in 1963, and in 1970, I hired him to work for me. So he was my assistant as well as me being his. And I still play 9 holes or maybe sometimes 18 holes of golf with him every week. He's 96 years old and still going strong. So he's my buddy, and we do play golf every week, weather permitting. So I've known him for a long time now.
All you guys do is laugh and make fun of each other out there.
Yeah. He says I'm the only guy that'll play with him. So I don't let him drive the cart, though. I can tell you that.
You've been blessed by the opportunity to coach great athletes all your life. An athlete's a special breed of a human being in our society. He is gifted with physical capabilities that others can't perform. In your eyes, athletes, who are they?
Oh God, they're almost nondescript, really. If you can, some athletes look like athletes, some athletes don't look like athletes, and vice versa. They're just hard to pick out until you see them do something, and some of them do it better than others, and it's just hard. That's why you practice and you look at them and you do those things, and you pick out the best players, and they'll be your athletes. But knowing what an athlete looks like and does is awful hard just by saying hi along the way. And just because they're built good or bad doesn't make any difference. If they can be good athletes, I've had them both. I've had kids that couldn't lift 100 pounds were good athletes, and I had kids that looked at 300 pounds that weren't good athletes. So, it's a hard life. It's a hard life for a coach to be out there and try to gather everybody together and form a good team.
2 questions. And
last 2 questions.
One of them is about how did the University of New Mexico find the famous Jim Ottman way back when you were 18 years of age?
That's a long time ago. Well, my mother and dad moved to Albuquerque from Austin, Texas, and I stayed in Austin and graduated. And my junior college coach, there used to be an all-star junior college football game in Albuquerque back in 1959, 58 and 59, and 1960. And my coach coached it, and he talked to the Marv Levy, who was the Lobo coach at one time, and says, I got a kid playing for me in Navarro Junior College whose mother and dad moved out here. And, you might want to contact him. He's a pretty good guy. And they did, and without seeing me play ever, they gave me a scholarship. So I've been here ever since.
Finally, the inspiration you got from mom and dad when you were growing up, man, they did it right. You're the complete guy. You laugh, you smile, you get serious, you get the job done. You were a great athlete, man. There's so much inspiration there. Amazing. What would you say about the motivation and inspirational life that you got from your mom and dad?
Well, basically, I got it from both of them. Gave me a lot of support. They were always at my games, little league baseball all the way up. There was all even when I went to UNM, they were at most of my football games, even out of town. So, but mostly it's from my dad. He was the type of person that worked hard, tried to do the right thing, and had a great sense of humor as well as being tougher than nails. So, got a lot of that from him, and so I think it's worked so far for me too.
How about mom?
Mom was a quiet type, sat there and just cheered and, gave me a way to go, son, and took me and brought me back from all these things. And, she was another hardworking mom who also worked, you know, both mom and dad both worked back in those days. And so they both did a pretty good job with me.
Amen. Hey, I'm going to cheat one more. Do you miss mom and dad?
Henry, don't give me one more now.
Do you think about mom and dad even to this day?
Oh, yeah. I got their picture right on my desk and say hi every now and then. They're up there hopefully saying hi to me.
Hey, can we go up there and play golf today? Will the COVID rules allow us?
No COVID will, but we got no tee times open. Everybody's playing golf. Everybody. It seems like.
Wow. Coach, God bless you. Thank you.
You too, Henry. Thank you, but
precious time.
Okay. All right.
Thank
you. I'm out of here.
All right, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Jim Ottman, one of a kind. Henry T's high school football coach. He and Clem Charlton can claim that. I don't know if they will, but I sure do, because those two gentlemen pumped me up, inspired me. Wow. And I wasn't a big football player, but they made me feel big. They gave me that confidence to think that I could accomplish any mission that they gave me on that football field, regardless of what size I am or was or whatever. They taught me how to be in shape all the time, and they just worked me, and I loved the work. I didn't know any better really, because I wanted to do everything possible to be an athlete. And knowing that I was under their leadership, I knew that something good was happening. And the more they taught me, the more they instructed me, the more they said, Henry T., you got to run another mile. You got to be faster. And I was. And because of them, I was very fast. And I had agility. And I could throw, I could run, I could kick, I could punt. Man, they gave me the confidence to realize there wasn't anything I couldn't do. I had no, I had no place to go to hide. They were going to find me, and they were going to make me better. And they did. And I look back and say, gee, I like Coach Ottman. I never left the field. Might have been the smallest guy on the field, maybe, but I was the quickest, and I loved to hit. Because if you played for Coach Ottman, you hit, or you didn't play. Maybe the most aggressive, or certainly one of them, one of the most aggressive physical Lobos ever. And he wanted us to be like him. Man, you were not afraid. You were not reluctant to get in the physical part of the game, because that's what football is. And the rules were different. Back in the day, you hit with your head. We don't do that anymore. We don't spear. They cleaned up the game a little bit, and for the better, but we still hit hard. You hit with everything you were about, or you did not play. That's the way it was. And man, we played some big teams. the Perini brothers from Carlsbad. Ooh, big. They get that ball and turn the corner out there in a power sweep, and I'm the safety. And it's me and them, and back there's the end zone. I got to come up with a tackle against this Perini guy. Ooh, sometimes, I mean, I don't care who you are that plays defense. Playing defense hurts. When you make a tackle and your shoulders have to make contact with a ball carrier, man, your shoulders get sore. Everything gets sore on you when you're a high school player and experiencing the physical awareness, the physical contact, all in one practice, and it's a brand new experience. But you know, if you're going to play defense, you're going to pay a price, and there are consequences if you don't want to hit. There's an end zone down there, and you don't want your guy that you were supposed to hit to run into that end zone, and you do everything humanly possible to get him on the ground. There are no, well, he's bigger than me, coach. I can't do it. No, 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 no. You get that guy on the ground one way or another. And I figured it out. I'd throw a body block into these big running backs, and it would work. It's hard to wrap them up because they'll run over you. So I'd go out there and throw my body at their lower portions of their body, the knees, the ankles, whatever. Or if you really had a running head start, you'd hit them around the waist, and then you could shock them, and then they'd fall down. But they always had, Coach Ottman especially, man, you hit with all you've got or go sit down. You're not going to play. And I love playing. And Coach Ottman, who was a big Lobo star, and we all knew it, when he came out there to coach us, and he was a young man, and he had the homecoming queen, and we all honored him with respect because he earned our respect. He came out there ready and willing to stay with us for 3 hours every afternoon and teach us what he knew, and that attitude that prevailed out there. I mean, there were no parameters for us. You come aggressive or don't come at all. When I talk to Coach to this day, it's like, wow, what an experience to talk to my friend, longtime friend, and my coach, Jim Ottman. It is a thrill. You know, I'm getting a call from a very, very famous guy. Jeff Sandia is calling my phone right now. And maybe when we take a little break and come back, we'll have Jeff on the line. But we certainly have an alternative way to go. Jim Thrash. Remember Jim Thrash? The great basketball coach at Manzano, who went on to coach at Fresno State and Purdue. Jim Thrash is coming up in just a few minutes. Jimmy Tran, our great producer. Ooh, man, he's ready. All he's going to do is say, Henry, pitch to the Jim Thrash show, and we'll do that. And Coach Thrash, if you're out there, give me a call after this feature story. There's another guy with no parameters that when he was a coach at Manzano and Purdue and Fresno State, gave it his all everywhere. And the Jim Thrash touch was very effective on some great, great, great athletes. In fact, Jim Thrash, a good friend of mine, I was a referee in college and did games for Coach Thrash and his Manzano Monarchs. Tough place to be. because I'm telling you, he was harsh on the guys with stripes. Nice guy afterwards. He's got great experiences, has a beautiful wife and children. Here is a little feature story on the one and only Jim Thrash. Oh, we got a little time, Jim Thrash. Oh, okay. First of all, let's thank the sponsors. Um, Amastoy Drywall, Pierre and his sons, all of them outstanding athletes, and they will build you a new home. They'll make an addition to your home. They certainly are the most famous drywall company ever in the history of our state. And Indigo Mortgage, um, gosh, Ben Lucero, what can we say? Character galore. Works hard. He says, man, you find a better deal than what I can give you here at Indigo Mortgage, take it. Because no one's going to beat our deal here at Indigo Mortgage. Nobody. And he means it. And he came within an eyelash as an athlete of making the Olympic Games. High jumper at the University of Missouri. Sensational. Went to high school at Mayfield in Las Cruces. So proud to call Las Cruces Titletown, USA. They won so many football championships down there, baseball championships. And, you know, it's hard to admit, but pound for pound, they played the best athletic high school ball than anybody, more consistently than any town in New Mexico. The proof is in the pudding. So, yeah. Ben Lucero, one of a kind. Rax Lumber Company, Richie Tabbitt, ready. Now we're ready with Jim Thrash, former great athlete, former great coach at Manzano, Fresno State, and Purdue. Wow, there he is right there. Jim Thrash. Let's see what Coach Thrash has to say today. Wow, what a day this is going to be. I'm fired up. I'm Henry T. We're on a podcast. Does anybody know what pod is? I still don't know. I just know it's Henry T's Comeback on television or on here. It's everywhere. People yelling at me at intersections. Henry T, I heard your show. I watched your show today. The recognition factor is enormous. It wasn't bad at 4, 7, and 13. A lot of recognition. I'm in a supermarket. Henry T, but now it's supermarket, church, down the street, on the street, whatever. These things work. Spread the word. Henry T is trying to come back. And today I am fired up because I have a longtime friend in here. Great coach at Manzano High School. Went on to find his way to Fresno State. Wow, what a coach. And then found his way to the NBA. And as a scout, was a scout, maybe part-time now still, was with the Hornets and Michael Jordan. He and Jordan are tight. You know what I'm saying? What a career he's had. And he's a friend of mine. When he was at Manzano, leader of the Monarchs, vying for the state championship. One night when Henry T was a referee, man, he was telling me all about my ancestry and everything, and I just had it up to here. So on a fast break down the floor, he's still in my ear, and I blew the whistle. I said, Coach, there you go, man. Technical foul on Jim Thrash. one of my favorite coaches of all time. I bet he doesn't even remember that he had so many. Coach Thrash, it's great to see you.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Man, I love you like a brother. We've been so close for so many years. I respect everything you've done because you've always taken it all to the mountaintop. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been very blessed.
Amen. And then, check it out. Before all this success, he married the homecoming queen, Denise. My condolences to you, Purple Heart, whatever it takes. But this is a lucky man, that's for sure. Man, Coach, you hit the jackpot. You married a fine, beautiful lady. And because of that, you've had a great life.
Yep, that's right, Henry. That's been a big part of my life. And she's been a great wife, a great mother, a great grandmother. And we've been very blessed as a family.
Yeah. You know, basketball was a great love to you since you were a kid. And it's like the old saying, basketball has been very good to you. That's an understatement.
It is an understatement because without basketball, Henry, I probably would never have left that little town of 800 people in southern Illinois. Growing up, I was the youngest of 6, only one to graduate from high school. And I played my senior year with a broken foot because I was trying to get a scholarship. And I ended up with 2 scholarship offers.
Wow.
And so from that point on, basketball is what allowed me to get a college degree, allowed me to become a coach. And it's pretty much everything good that's happened to me has happened through the game of basketball.
You had a great mom who loved you, nurtured you, you and your brothers and sisters. And we got to start there because I'm sure, man, she motivated you. She inspired you. Do you mind going back to tell us that story?
Oh, sure. Yeah, my mother was absolutely the best. And I grew up in this small town in southern Illinois, and I was the youngest of 6. My parents divorced when I was 8. My dad at the time was working in Chicago, which is, 200 miles north. And so at that time, Henry, in the 50s and 60s, as I was in school, I was the only kid. My brother and sister, we were the only family that had divorced parents. I mean, it was nobody got a divorce at that time. A lot of that changed in the 60s. But anyway, so I was basically raised by a single mom and who worked for 50 cents an hour doing washing and ironing for people. And we had no running water. So we had to carry water in from the well, pour it in a galvanized tub, heat it on the stove, carry it to the back porch, pour it in the washing machine, and she would wash the clothes and then iron the clothes and earn 50 cents an hour. She got $32 a month child support, $5 for each kid, for each 6 kids, and $2 for utilities. So that's what we lived on. And what was amazing is I never heard her talk about not having enough money or not being able to pay the bills. But as growing up without indoor plumbing, we couldn't even afford a window fan. One time my aunt came to visit from Washington, D.C., and she went up to the hardware store and bought an $8 window fan. My mom couldn't afford to buy a window fan, so that was, but at the time, you didn't realize you were that poor because a lot of my next door buddy, who was my best friend, still is today, he pretty much had the same life. So it's like we started mowing lawns when we were 10 years old, and so had money in my pocket, was able to buy my clothes for school and all that. But my mother was absolutely the greatest, and every time the church doors opened, we were there, and that's what kept us grounded. And the people at the Little Baptist Church, they were like family, and still are today. I spoke to one of them on the phone yesterday. So, it's we've had a very blessed life, and it all goes back to my mother being a strong Christian woman, and the game of basketball. I mean, that's what I basically, why I've had such a blessed life, because of all that.
Man. So when was it? Was it in your backyard, your buddy's backyard, the local gym? When did you start playing ball? Because you were awesome as a ball player.
Yeah, I started playing. Matter of fact, I just looked at a picture yesterday. Me and my buddy. There's a double exposure picture when I was probably in the 7th grade, shooting jump shots out behind this, what we call the barn, which was a shed on a dirt court. And back early, Henry, the balls were laced. This was kind of before your time. But when I was in elementary school, we had one ball in the tub that still had laces on it, and I had one that wouldn't hold air, so we stuffed it with rags. So we shot with that ball when I was probably 3rd grade, which is when that's when you start playing basketball at school in Illinois, is the 3rd grade. So that's basically when it started, and I would shoot with brown jersey, cotton gloves, and in the wintertime, and they'd get wet. Take them in, put them on the stove, get a dry pair, go shoot some more. I had 3 pair of those gloves. And when they get wet and cold, you go put them on the coal stove, get a dry pair, go out and shoot some more. They get wet, you go in and exchange them for a dry pair. So that's how it all started.
How'd you make your way to Manzano High School?
I'm sorry?
How'd you make your way to Manzano?
Well, that was interesting. I was teaching, when I got out of school, I was teaching elementary school at A. Montoya up in the mountains. I taught at A. Montoya in the morning. I taught at San Antonio in the afternoon, elementary PE. And I wanted to coach, so there was no coaching positions open in Albuquerque. I took a job in Tucson, Arizona, Sunnyside School District. I go down there in August, and I'm there for a week. I can't find a place to live without driving through the city for 45 minutes, and I'm not used to that, having lived in Albuquerque and been teaching in the East Mountains. So I go in and talk to the superintendent secretary. Say, I can't find a place to live that's going to work. If I don't find a place by Friday, I'm going back to Albuquerque. So by Friday, I couldn't find a place to live in Tucson. I called Mike White, who's the personnel director here. He was in Durango at a administrators meeting. He said, "Yeah, I can get you a job." He called me back in about 30 minutes, said, "Yeah, I got you a job at Acme Elementary." So I come back to Albuquerque. I'm teaching at Acme Elementary. I go talk to Coach Martin at Manzano, and his C-team coach was John Herrera, who was a great guy, a great track coach, but he didn't really have a background in basketball. He said, "You can be Coach Herrera's assistant." So my first year, I was John Herrera's assistant C-team coach at Manzano. So I did that for a year. Then I became the sophomore coach. I did that for 3 years. And then I became the JV coach for 1 year. And then when Coach Martin left and went to Southeast Oklahoma, then I became the head coach. And then at that point, I'd already accepted a job with my college coach at Wichita State as an assistant. But once the job opened up at Manzano, I was so close to those kids because I had coached all of them as sophomores on the C team. So
that was some big names that you coached. Some of those high school kids at Manzano. Listen to the lineup.
Well, yeah, when I was Coach Martin's assistant, we had Mark Sayers to start with. Mark was a great player, smart player,
former Lobo great.
Yeah, went on to play on the WAC championship team, and I thought he was a big key for that team because he was also a straight A student, smart player. Struggled with asthma as a high school kid, but was still a great player. And
give me some other names on that list.
Okay, then after Mark Sayers, of course, we had Norm Casey, and Case started for us for 2 years, played on both state championship teams as a junior and a senior, and I had coached him as a sophomore. Henry, what's interesting is I used to call him and take him to McCullum Elementary to work on post moves in the summertime. And I called him so many times. This is 50 years ago. I still remember his home phone number, 298-9840, when I used to call Case and say, let's go over to the playground and work on post moves. And he was all for it.
Casey, former Lobo, Norm Ellenberger, recruited him, needed him. Man, that was a good lineup.
Yes, Case was
Who else?
Case was
Royce?
a very good player. Then,
Pancho.
and of course on that team there was a lot of good players, and we had so many dedicated kids at Manzano because we ran a year-round
Coach,
program.
give me the names.
Then Alan Zahn was probably the next big-time college player that I coached at Manzano, and Alan was a young kid. Alan was he was 16 as a senior, turned 17 in January, and as a junior at Manzano, he was a great player. We go to the Farmington tournament when he's 16 years old. He breaks the tournament scoring record, scores 44 points in one game, and then I take him. I get him an invitation to the Superstar Camp in San Diego, where the top players in the country are invited. Alan goes to the Superstar Camp and makes the top 5 players in the camp and gets to the finals of the dunk contest. Gets to the final 2 of the dunk contest. So as a result of that exposure, every school in the country is recruiting Alan Zahn, and including Michigan State. And he visits Michigan State at the same time as Magic Johnson. Had he gone to Michigan State, he would have been on the national championship team with Magic. But he goes to Arkansas, and as a sophomore, and because he's 17 as a freshman in college, he turns 18 as a sophomore in college. As a sophomore in the Final Four, he starts and guards Larry Bird. And they end up losing that game, or otherwise they would have played in the finals against Michigan State. And Larry Bird plays against Magic in what's considered maybe the greatest college game ever, So anyway, so Alan was a great player, had a great career at Arkansas.
Look at there. Is that you with the greatest player in the history of the game?
That's me with Big Mike, yeah. And that's Mike playing a game that probably, there's no question he was the best.
And you were one of his scouts for the Hornets.
Yeah,
He depended on you.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd be walking the building and say, "Jim, what's up?" You, "Hey, Michael, hey, have a great day." You guys were tight.
We were Henry. I was started out scouting for the Golden State Warriors, and I worked for the Warriors as a scout for 3 years. And then Rod Higgins, who I recruited to Fresno, was Michael's teammate with the Bulls, and so they were very close. And when Michael became part owner of, at that time, the Bobcats, new franchise started by Bob Johnson, they called and asked me to come with them to the Bobcats and be a scout. And then the Bobcats became the Hornets, and but I worked for Michael for 8 years, and it was a great career. There's Pancho, and Pancho Anaya was, he was maybe the biggest hero in the history of Manzano because of that steal at half court, take it down, lay it up at the buzzer. We go to overtime, win our first state championship.
Wow.
And then follow that up with a second state championship the next year, of which Pancho was a member. And
great player. I mean, stats galore, the championship. But word has it, Pancho and I led the league in girlfriends.
Pancho had the ladies thought a lot of Pancho, I think, yeah, and especially after becoming the hero. And then Pancho went to Eastern New Mexico as a freshman, led them in assists.
Look at you. Is that the redhead?
There's Coach Martin and I at the state
Go
tournament.
back to the other photo. Is that who I thought it was?
Here, Big Bill Walton.
Big Bill.
Yeah, that's Denise and I at a game at UCLA that I was scouting. And I had met Bill the previous year and had a conversation with him about watching him play in the AAU tournament in Columbia, South Carolina. And then Denise loves Bill Walton as he's announcing games. So I told her, Bill's probably going to be announcing this game, and if he is, I'll introduce you to him. So we're walking up to the scorer's table where Bill is and his buddy Dave Pash, and Bill sees me and doesn't, recognizes me, probably doesn't remember my name, but says, Santa Fe, 10,000 waves. I love 10,000 waves. Henry, what was interesting when I first watched Bill Walton play, he was a senior in high school, and he had long red hair down past his shoulders. It's at the AAU National Tournament in Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm playing for the House of Carpets with Ron Nelson, Ron Becker, Mike Lucero, a bunch of former Lobos, and so we're at the national tournament, and Bill's on a team warming up with an all-black team from San Diego that was an all armed forces team, and I had no idea who he was, and my buddy Dan Hayes was there, and I asked Dan, I said, "Who is this kid?" He said, "Well, I think it must be the kid that's going to UCLA that I read about in Sports Illustrated." So we watch him warm up. The game starts. He starts. And on the other team is Nick Pino, who you remember was from Santa Fe.
St. Michael's.
Went to Kansas State, had a nice college career. Nick at that point was probably early 30s, I don't know, late 20s. But Nick's on the other team, 7-footer. They throw the ball into Nick. Nick turns to shoot a little jump hook, and Big Bill swats it up in the nickel seats. So they take the ball out of bounds, take it the other side, throw it back into Nick again. He shoots a left-hand jump hook. Bill swats that one up in the nickel seats. So at halftime, he had 13 blocks, and I'm walking around the concourse at University of South Carolina, and this is before cell phone time. All the scouts are on payphones, and I'm eavesdropping. They're all talking about this redheaded kid that's just blocking everything in sight. So when I tell Bill Walton I saw him play in that game, immediately he gets all animated, all excited. He said, "You saw me play that game? That's the game that got me on the national team." He said, "That's the game that got me recognized." And so he was very impressed by the fact that I saw him play that early in his career. So
Wow.
that's one reason that he remembered me. And
I love Bill Walton as a commentator. He wrote his own script. He's revolutionized the color commentator spot.
yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's a very smart guy, very interesting, and has a lot of interest. Where he always brings on the thing at halftime, where he shows the area and gets into that. And I think that's what Denise enjoys, all of the information that he gives you during the game. And some of it doesn't have to do. A lot of it doesn't have to do with basketball.
Speaking about Denise, we just had her picture up there. I want everybody to see Denise. Look at her.
Yep,
Huh?
that's a picture.
Out of your league, coach. How'd you do it?
That's a picture of Denise and I when I was coaching at the College of Southern Idaho. After I'd gotten out of coaching for a while when my boys were growing up, Henry, and then had an opportunity to get back in and coached at the College of Southern Idaho, which is the winningest junior college in the nation. And
God bless you.
that was a great opportunity. And Denise used to have all the recruiting parties. As when I was assistant at Fresno and at Southern Idaho, anytime we'd have a recruit in, and then at Southern Idaho we had Monday night football, which we had the players over at our house every Monday night, and Denise would fix dinner for 15 players. And one time we had the board of directors at the college was there with the players. But she's a great cook, and she enjoys cooking. So the players always thought a lot of Denise because of her ability to cook delicious food.
And what a sweet lady.
Yeah, she is a very sweet lady.
And let me go right there, because the both of you and I have a lot of fun together, and we make fun of each other and all that, but God is big in your life. You're a very, very obedient man, and you glorify God at every move you make. And I know that you and she are together in your worship. If you don't mind, can we go there?
Sure. Well, Henry, I have to admit, my wife is a very, very strong Christian, and God is certainly number one in her life. But as growing up, as I mentioned earlier, going to the little Baptist church with my mom, and every time the doors opened, we were there, and that was very important at that time in my life. And I, as a player, I felt that that the more time I spent in church, the more things I did with people at church seemed like the better I played as an athlete and more success I had. But then we have two sons, and Denise is very much responsible for our two sons are both basically doing God's work. And our older son, Jason, is an associate pastor of a very large 2,000 member church in Southern Illinois. And our younger son, Mark, works for Novo, a missionary group that has over 600 missionaries around the world. And he's a major donor fundraiser for them. So both our sons are very involved in the Lord's work.
See,
That's
they
nice,
know
right?
that the greats are sitting there, and that's how I feel. Just like Mike Romero and Freddie, they know you. They know what you've done. Look, we passed by your career at Fresno State like it didn't exist. Go there for a quick minute before we end our talk.
Well, Fresno State, and before we went there, they were 6-20 the year before. We took 4 of the same starters, added a 6'5" center, and went 21-6 our first year. Won the conference, led the nation in defense. We were very defensive.
Who was the head coach there?
Boyd Grant, Tiny Grant, and a great coach. I learned a lot from Coach Grant. He was a very strong disciplinarian, very great defensive coach. And the first year I'm at Fresno, I'm the main recruiter, and I recruit 7 kids. The first year, 2 first-team All-City in Los Angeles and 2 first-team All-City in Chicago. And 4 years later, those guys are 27-2 going in against Patrick Ewing in Georgetown, who we lose to in the Sweet 16. And so that was, but we had we basically, our fourth game at Fresno, we beat Cal Berkeley on our home court. And from that point on, Selland Arena was sold out. And the second year, if you wanted to sit in the bottom half of the arena, you had to pay $5,000 above the price of the ticket. I mean, it was just like the town went nuts because they'd never really had been big in basketball.
You had a lot to do with that.
Well, I recruited all the players that basically seven of them went on to play in the NBA, Henry, with some of them had pretty long careers.
As we wind it up today, and you capsulize a great career, what do you attribute all that to?
Well, I think blessings. I've been blessed. There's no question, Henry. That the good Lord has blessed me in many, many ways. But I think also I worked very hard. I put in a lot of long hours, and as the guys that played for me at Manzano will tell you how hard we worked, and it was a 12-month-a-year deal. And I was pretty organized. I would talk to a lot of coaches. I stole borrowed ideas from a lot of coaches. We had a track program that I got from Jim Bush.
Did Royce ever play for you?
Royce Blackshear played 2 years for me and was a great player. And I should have mentioned him earlier.
He's watching. He watches all these shows.
Yeah.
Give me a memory of Royce Blackshear.
Well, Royce Blackshear was a tremendous athlete, a great kid, absolutely as good as anyone I ever coached. His dad had been a coach, but Royce would be at the top of the list of all-time great kids because he was a yes sir, no sir kid who worked very, very hard, never questioned anything we did, gave it 100%, and had 2 great years for us. So he was.
What a memory you have.
He was as good as they come, Henry. And when I was scouting, Royce went to games with me at Texas Tech several times the past few years with his grandson, and I think the world of him. Another guy on that team, Pat McDougal, who later scored.
Wow.
Pat McDougal scored 53 points in one game as a senior, and he was a kid who did not get to play as a 9th grader on a junior high team because he wasn't good enough. So he's another dedicated kid, 53. And from what I understand, that record was just broken last year. He said it in 1977. So it took over 40 years for that record to be broken.
Coach Thrash, time flies when you and I are having fun.
Yeah, yeah, it is, Henry. It's great.
Hey,
It's great visiting with you.
oh, what a pleasure. Just between you and me, okay? When you saw Michael, did you say, Mike, let's go down to the floor, man, see what you have?
No, Henry, I'm not. I'm not in Michael's league, and neither is anyone else.
The beautiful series they had on ESPN,
Yeah.
The Last Dance.
Right.
For me, that emphatically made him, in my eyes, in my memory, in my heart, the best that ever played.
Yes, yes, and there's no doubt about it in my mind. He is the best that ever played. I thought that before watching The Last Dance, just basically solidified that. And and what's great in is guys that are 20, 25 years old never really got to watch Michael. So I think it's great for the younger guys that got to watch that and realize how good he was. So to talk about LeBron and Kobe and those guys who were also good players, but Michael was the best. And then of course, big Wilt Chamberlain, and you gotta mention Wilt because Wilt still holds, I think, over 20 NBA records.
Gee.
And that was a different era. And that's the other thing with Michael. He played in an era when they didn't call all the little ticky-tack fouls. I mean, they beat each other up, as you saw in that series, The Last Dance. I mean, that was a physical time in the NBA.
What a pleasure. We got to say bye. I don't want to, but a special hello to Denise and the family. And really, I applaud you for the way you've lived your life. The priority list, man. Big. I wish I could give you a high five. The governor will throw me out of here if I do. But congratulations on a great career and a great life. And your greatest days are in front of you. You don't know that.
That would be nice, Henry, because I've had some great ones behind me. But anyway, buddy, thank you for having me on, Henry. You're doing a great job, and you've always done a great job for sports in Albuquerque, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you, buddy. See you later.
Okay.
And we didn't get into the car collector that he is, too, because he's got a 57 Chevy. I was saving up my bucks so I can go buy it from him someday. Just in 30 seconds, how sharp is that 57 Chevy?
It's a 57 Chevy convertible, Henry, with only 44,000 original miles. So it's a beautiful car. It's black with a white top, red interior, 3-speed. It's a beautiful car, and I'm very fortunate to own it.
Wow, as they used to say, cherry condition.
Yes, it is.
Kurt?
44,000 original miles.
Woo. Have a great day. Thanks for making our day.
Thank you, Henry.
All right.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you, buddy.
See you later.
Okay.
Wow, what a day this is going to be. I'm fired up. I'm Henry T. We're on a podcast. Does anybody know what pod is? I still don't know. I just know it's Henry T's Comeback on television or on here. It's everywhere. People yelling at me at intersections. Henry T., I heard your show. I watched your show today. The recognition factor is enormous. It wasn't bad at 4, 7, and 13. Its entirety. And that's just a good, solid guy. Great decision guy throughout his life. Super contributor to athletes and great coaches that he coached with. Man, all he does is get high marks on his performance as a coach during his day. As a player, same thing. Super player and super friend, super husband, super dad. That's Jim Thrash. And the word super also goes in front of the name Jimmy Tran, our producer. And next Monday, we're going to have Justin Vieta on, and we're going to have Jimmy introduce to you a machine that literally gets rid of virus. And he'll have you on watching that, and you go, hey, We need one of those. Jimmy Tran, trust him, love him, respect him. He's always there, giving Henry T. and you his all. Well, our sponsor list is always there. Amistoy Drywall, Rax Lumber Company, Indigo Mortgage, the Hydro Bar, great people. Yeah, Richie Tabbitt, superstar at Rax. That's going to do it today. I'll see you soon. See you Monday. Jeff Symbieta, radio and TV star, good guy. He'll be on with Henry T on Monday. Have a great day. Jimmy Tran, you're the best. And thank you to our great players out there, ProView Networks. Appreciate you guys. Love you. Take care. See you on Monday. Be careful. Take care.